think it's time to start. That's my cue. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to this week's IELTS webinar, where we're going to be focusing on 2 IELTS reading question types, true, false, not given, and multiple choice questions. Before I begin, the first thing I would like to do before I forget is introduce myself. My name is Yasser. I am a teacher and a teacher trainer with the British Council. I've taught in many parts of the world, but I'm currently located in New Delhi in India. Thank you guys so much for introducing yourselves in the chat box, and thank you so much for taking time out of your day to join us. This is truly, just like the World Cup in Qatar, this is truly an international group of participants. We have people from everywhere, from Myanmar to Canada, and from Argentina to Zimbabwe, in every corner of the globe in between. So once again, thank you for taking time out of your day to join us. Guys, before we start, there are a couple of things I would like to do. The first is to introduce you to my amazing team. If you've been to one of our webinars before, you're going to recognize their names. You've heard of the Marvel Avengers, superheroes like the Hulk, Iron Man, Thor. The people I'm about to introduce you to, Marvel Avengers are superheroes. The people I'm about to introduce you to are the IELTS Avengers. So we have IELTS superheroes. We have Sarah in Paris, Layla in London, Daniela in Glasgow in Scotland, Mariana in Croatia, and Eden in Wales. So you can say hi to them in the chat box. And the second thing, guys, I want to ask you a couple of questions about your relationship with the IELTS test and our webinar series as well. So can I get the first poll question up, please? So guys, if you can see the poll question, great, put your answers there. Otherwise, just let us know in the chat box. Have you taken an IELTS test already? Yes or no? And what score do you need? So again, if you can see the poll question, put your answers there. Otherwise, pop it in the chat box. Hi, Jocelyn. Jocelyn's saying greetings from Peru. So guys, 5 more seconds. Let me know if you've taken the test already and what score do you need. And can I see the results? So about 18% of you have. Maybe you need to take the test again because you want to get a higher score. And 82% of you, this is going to be your first and hopefully last time. Hopefully you're only going to need to do it once. And as usual, you guys need a 6 and above. Guys, our webinars are structured so that they're going to help everybody, whether you've taken the test before or not. Can I get the second poll question up, guys? You guys are also curious about your relationship with our webinar series. So have you attended one of our webinars before? Remember, we do run these every Thursday. So have you attended one of our webinars before? Yes or no? And how did you hear about our webinar series? Maybe through Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, British Council website, maybe an email from the British Council, a friend or family member told you about them. Maybe somebody, your teacher or somebody at school. So please let us know. Again, in the poll, otherwise in the chat box. Can I see the results? So close to 60% of you have attended one of our webinars before. That's amazing. I hope we're doing something right. That's why you keep coming back. So huge welcome back, and a massive welcome to the 42% of you who are attending for the first time. Remember, we do run these every Thursday, so we hope to see you again. And generally, you've heard of our webinar series through either British Council website or an email. Awesome. And one last question. When you registered for the webinar, you should also have received a link to the British Council IELTS study pack. I'll discuss what the study pack is in more detail when we look at the resources. Right now, I just want to know if you've received the study pack or not. So again, yes or no. And if you've got the chance to use it, have you found it useful? Again, if you can't see the poll, please put your answers in the chat box. And can I see the results? So close to 70% of you have. That's great. 32% of you haven't. Don't worry. Mariana's going to pop the link into the chat box right now so you can register. I would highly recommend that you use it. As you can see, those who've used it, either found it useful or very useful. Great job, guys. Now that we've got that out of the way, thank you for answering those questions. Let me just show you. Let's go over some quick general information about this webinar. As usual, it's going to last for 1 hour with time for questions at the end. Guys, we try to make our webinars very interactive, so please use the chat box to respond to me. Whenever I ask you something, the box used to introduce yourselves, please use that to respond to me. This is what the icon looks like. You might have noticed also, I mentioned this at the beginning, that you're not able to see anybody else's response. That's because of the number of people attending. It can cause the system to crash if we leave it open. So we've had to limit the chat settings, but don't worry, the Avengers and I can see all of your responses. If you have a question that you would like to ask, please put it in the Q&A box. This is what the icon looks like. And one of the Avengers will be more than happy to answer the question for you, or we might save it and answer it at the end. So again, guys, just so we're clear, when I ask you something, please put your answers in the chat box. If you have a question that you would like to ask, please put it in the Q&A. It might not be possible to answer everyone's question, so if you see one that's similar to yours, please like it. That'll help us to prioritize which questions to answer. As usual, this webinar is being recorded and Zoom will email you over the next 3 days with the link. If you have any questions about your specific test booking, guys, the best people to get in touch with would be the ones at the local British Council Test Center, because they'll have the most up-to-date information. And please do not share phone numbers and personal information. We take data protection very seriously at the British Council. And please be courteous at all times. You guys always are and always have been. I'm legally obligated to say this. Please be courteous at all times. Otherwise, you may be excluded from the webinar. All right, let's take a look at what we're going to cover today. We're very quickly going to review the reading skills that Sarah covered in her brilliant webinar. So we're just going to take a quick tour of the reading skills. And then we're going to focus mainly in today's webinar on approaches to two task types: true, false, not given, and multiple choice questions. And hopefully we're going to look at strategies that you guys are going to find extremely effective. Then we'll do Q&A and resources. Might not seem like a lot, but trust me, we have a lot to get through. So guys, could you let me know in the chat box if you're ready? Let me know if you're ready in the chat box, please. Let's get beeping ready. Yes, good. A lot of people are saying, inshallah. Great job, guys. We're going to start anyways, but it helps if you guys are ready. Now, guys, before we start looking at each of those questions, I think it's important for us to understand what you actually have to do in the IELTS reading test. What is the single most important purpose of what you're doing? And to me, I think the secret to sort of understanding what you have to do in the IELTS reading test is understanding that it's all about finding the correct bit of information. Your one sole task in the reading test is to find answers. Remember, you don't have to come up with your own answers. The answers are somewhere in the text. You just need to find, as quickly as you can, the correct bit of information. That's literally what the reading test is all about. Now, guys, in terms of the reading test, I think the single biggest sort of challenge test takers face is time. Because if you give somebody a text and say, find information that we're asking you to find, you have unlimited time. Eventually, everybody would find it. But in the IELTS test, do you have unlimited time in the IELTS reading test? Do you have unlimited time? Can you spend as much time as you want? Somebody just said, yes, I don't think so. You do not have unlimited time. How much time do you have? Exactly, you only have 60 minutes. And you don't have one passage or one section. You have 3 different sections. So time management is vital in order to get the score that you want. Now, in terms of time management, the single biggest mistake I think test takers make is that they read the whole passage. They read the whole passage and read the whole passage again and again and again, and they end up exhausting themselves. Remember, what we want to do is figure out how to find the correct bit of information as quickly as possible. How do we do that? By developing reading skills that Sarah looked at, and we're going to review today, and practice as well, and combine those reading skills with task-specific strategies. And we're going to look at 2 task-specific strategies today. Now, in terms of how to find the correct bit of information in terms of reading skills, this is what Sarah sort of went over. The process of surveying, skimming, reading questions, scanning, close reading, and then finding the treasure. The secret is to go from the top to the bottom as quickly as possible. And we're going to practice how to do this today, in today's webinar. And Sarah's brilliant webinar, we're going to run again in the future. But guys, at the bottom, it says find the treasure. What treasure am I referring to here? What do you think I mean by the treasure? Exactly, Borbala, Rupesh, the answer. We need to get to the answer as quickly as possible. So we need to go from looking at the whole text to the treasure under the surface, which is the correct answer, as quickly as possible. Now, like I said, we're going to practice using these skills, but we're going to do it in the context of the other important aspect of managing time, using task-specific strategies. And we're going to start with the notoriously difficult true, false, not given. Guys, whenever I do this in my classes, whenever I go over reading in my classes, this is the task type my learners struggle with the most. And the first time we usually do it in class, this is the reaction that I get. Like former President Obama, do you guys recognize this feeling? When doing true, false, not given? Yes, a lot of you are saying yes, right? Where people, when I do this in class the first time, they don't know what is going on. But that's what we're hopefully gonna help you over. This feeling is what we're gonna hopefully help you overcome today, right? So before we dive in, I think we need to understand there's two different task types: true, false, not given, and yes, no, not given. In terms of the strategy, they're exactly the same. But what you need to be careful about is following instructions and maybe just understanding the technical difference. True, false, not given deals with factual information, while yes, no, not given is about the writer's opinions and attitudes. But like I said, in terms of the strategy, it's exactly the same. Now, I think the first issue learners, and maybe you guys might have with true, false, not given, is that it's not entirely clear what the options actually mean. You have to choose either true, false, not given or yes, no, not given. That's difficult to do if you're not actually aware of what these options mean or signify. So that's the first thing we're going to look at. So guys, if you answer true or yes, what does that mean? If your answer to a question is true or yes, what does that mean? Leanne said that means not necessarily that you agree, but the information in the passage agrees with the information in the question. It might be different words, but the meaning is like Sultana is saying, the same. It agrees with the passage. Again, nobody has a problem, I think, with true or yes. This is easy. Hi, Shuko. What does false or no mean, though? When we say false or no, right, Leanne? Jesse's saying disagree. Good. I would say it directly contradicts the passage. Directly contradicts the passage. The question says something, the passage says something else, right? Again, simple. If it was just true or false or yes or no, I don't think it would be an issue. I think the problem is not given. What does not given mean? Salma saying no, it's not no information. Good. So this is, I think, the basic understanding of what everybody has in terms of not given. No information means 0% information. Nothing is mentioned. Easy. But not given also has another meaning. So that meaning for sure, no information, but it also has another meaning as well. What some of you guys are saying in the passage, like Rosanna, there's incomplete information, or Rupesh is saying partial information. There's some information, but it's not enough information to decide whether it's true or false. Because people think it means 0% information, when they see even a little bit of information, they automatically put either true or false. But it could still be not given. Now, before we practice this in terms of an IELTS text, guys, I'm going to give you my own passage. And let's see if we can try to, if it becomes clear what these options actually mean. We're going to work with this one sentence. This one sentence is your entire passage, and I'm going to ask you 3 questions based around this passage. So your passage is, many lecturers find their jobs to be rewarding. I'm going to read it again. Many lecturers find their jobs to be rewarding. All right, guys, ready? Let me show you the first question, and I'm going to put this up as a poll question as well. Your first question based around this passage is, many lecturers are well paid. Can I get the first poll question up, please? So guys, you'll give you maybe 10 seconds. Many lecturers are well paid, true, false, or not given. Let me know in the poll, otherwise in the chat box. All right, 10 seconds left. Oh, 10 seconds are up, 5 seconds left. And can I see the results? Okay, so a lot of you are saying true in the chat box, and 37% of you said true in the poll, 51% not given. All right, let's break this down. Now, guys, the word rewarding in the passage, could it mean money? Can it mean money? Can it mean money? Yes, it can. Of course, rewarding can mean money. When money is a reward, right? So of course it can mean money. But could it mean other things as well? Could it mean other things as well? Yes. So besides money, what could it mean? What could it mean besides money? Benefits, Vidya is saying. Good. What else? Prizes. Sorry, the name's going really fast. Satisfaction, benefits, respect, incentives, bonus, Lian saying. Excellent. Any one of those things. So guys, based on the information we have in the passage, can we be 100% sure that it means money? No. But can we be 100% sure that it doesn't mean money? It could mean money. So can we be 100% sure it doesn't mean money? Again, no. So is there enough information to determine whether the statement is true or false? No. So then what is the answer? If we don't have enough information, the answer is not given. Excellent job, guys. And I think about close to 50% of you got this right in the poll. So true, false, not given questions usually have some sort of trap or some sort of trick. What was the trick in this question? Rewarding is an example of ambiguous vocabulary. We, because of our capitalist society, we might automatically assume it means money, but it could also mean many other things as well. All right, okay, good. So let's look at the same passage. Let's look at the second question. All lecturers get something positive from their jobs. Can I get the second poll question up, please? So guys, let's look at this question now. All lecturers get something positive from their work. True, false, or not given? Give you again 10 seconds. And can I see the results? All right, 53% of you, 52% of you picked true. Because remember, all those things that we discussed were positive things, right? Money, benefits, all of those things were positive things. Excellent. But guys, look at what the question says and look at what the passage says at the beginning. Does many equal all? All means 100%. Does many equal all? No. So then what is the answer? The answer is false. Again, we have to be very careful when we look at things like quantifiers like many and all. What was the trick here? This part matched, but the first part didn't. So you have to be very careful. Sometimes the first part might match, but the second part might not. Or the second part might match, but the first part might not. So you have to make sure you read everything. Great job. Let's look at one more. This one I think is very simple. Same passage, the third question. I'm going to put this up as a poll question as well. The majority of lecturers get some sort of satisfaction from their jobs. The majority of lecturers get some sort of satisfaction from their jobs. True, false, or not given? Ten seconds left. And can I see the results? Almost everybody in the chat box has said true. And 84% of you said true in the poll question as well. All right, let's break this down. Oops. Guys, what does majority mean? What is the definition of the word majority? Think in terms of an election. When do you reach a majority in an election? Arafat is saying 51% or above. Excellent. That's the technical definition of a majority. Now let's look at the passage. The passage says many. Now, many could refer to 35%. So if I wanted to talk about, for example, 35% of the Indian population, that's still many people. If many in this case refers to 35%, is it the majority? No, because remember we said 51% and above. But said many could also mean 65%. If it refers to 65%, is it the majority? Yes, because remember, again, 51% and above. 65 is more than 51, so yes. Do we know what the percentage is based on the information in the passage? No, we don't. Do we have enough information? So then what is the answer? Not given. Because we don't have enough information. Again, guys, what was the trick here? Majority is a word with a fixed meaning. In real life, people use it interchangeably, but majority is a word with a fixed meaning, 51% and above. Many is vague. It doesn't give you a fixed percentage. Guys, don't worry if you got the answers right or wrong, but is it clear now what these options actually mean, how they work, and the tricks that are used in true, false, not given? Two of the answers are not given, but there was information, but it was incomplete information. So remember, not given doesn't only mean 0%, it also means incomplete information. Again, like I said, don't worry if you got it right or wrong. Focus on how it's, I think the options are clear now. Good. Guys, you want to try to do this now in terms of an IELTS passage? Let's try to do this in terms of an IELTS passage. Let's do it. Let's try to use our reading skills as well. So the first thing we want to do is survey, which is just look at the visual information. How many paragraphs, titles, diagrams. So this passage is paragraphs A to J, and the title says Canals on Mars. What do you think this passage is going to be about? Based just on the title. What do you think this passage is going to be about? Canals on Mars, Leon is saying good. Well, what? Maybe Mars, maybe ideas or theories, good. Somebody said water bodies, good. And look at this picture. Do you think this is about the past or the future? Look at that picture. Does it look old or new? Probably about the past or maybe history. Good, excellent. So we've surveyed the task, the text, sorry. The next thing we want to do is skim. Guys, what is skimming? What is skim reading? What is skim reading? What do we mean by skim reading? I think it's fast or slow, right? We're reading very quickly. And what we want to do when we're skim reading, we want to figure out what is the central idea of each paragraph. What does the paragraph, what information is the paragraph a container for? And we can do this like AK saying in the chat box very quickly. A simple way to do it is to read just the first and last sentences. So I'm going to show you two paragraphs now, and I want you to read just the highlighted sentences. So the first and last sentence of each paragraph, just those sentences. I'll give you 30 seconds, and then we'll try to figure out what these two paragraphs are, or who these two paragraphs are about. 30 seconds, guys, starting now. Just the highlighted sentences. Let me know once you're done in the chat box. Ten seconds left. All right, guys. Who is this? Who are these two paragraphs about, do you think? If we could sum it up, who are these two paragraphs about? Excellent, Arafat. Both of them center around Percival Lowell. So if we find questions about Percival Lowell, we don't have to waste our time looking at the rest of the passage. We can zoom in and onto these two paragraphs. Let's now look at the two steps we want to use to answer true, false, not given, or yes, no, not given questions. The first thing we want to do, like with every reading question type, is to read the question and identify the keywords. This question type, like the instructions say, guys, you'll notice up on the screen, yes, no, not given. Let me show you the first question, and let's work together to try to figure out what are the keywords here. What are the keywords in this question? All, excellent, Leanne. What else? Lowell statements, good. Based, able to, see. Excellent job. I think we all agree that these are the keywords. Now what we want to do is use these keywords to figure out which part of those two. Remember, we've already located the two Percival Lowell paragraphs, but we don't want to waste our time now reading the whole or both of those paragraphs. We want to use the keywords to help us to identify which sentence or sentences to read closely. So we want to scan. So again, guys, this is the question. Those are the two paragraphs. Let's scan. Where do you see a link between the keywords and the passage? Does it say anything about maybe able to see? Excellent. Able to see, observing. So guys, I want you to read just that sentence. Just that sentence. I'll give you guys 10 seconds. Just read that sentence. All right. And now I'm going to ask you to answer the question, whether it's yes, no, not given. Can I get the poll question up, please? So all of Lowell's statements were based on what he was able to see. Looking at that one sentence, what is the answer? Yes, no, or not given? Give you guys 30 seconds maybe. So look carefully, read the question carefully. Lian identified maybe the most important keyword, the first one. And can I see the results? Okay, so close, but 43% of you picked no, and a lot of you in the chat box have picked no as well. So if we read this sentence carefully, guys, it says even before he started observing, he'd announced that the canals were probably the work of some sort of intelligent being. That means even he started observing later. He'd already made statements. But what does the question say? All of Lowell's statements were based on what he was able to see. What does all mean? 100%. So were 100% of Lowell's statements based on what he was able to see? No, because even before he started observing, he'd already made some statements. So you have to be careful, guys. The answer is no. So a lot of you, you located the right sentence, but you need to make sure you read it carefully. Now, guys, the answers in true, false, not given are going to come in chronological order. So if we found this answer at the end of the first paragraph, where's the next answer going to come? Where's the next answer going to come? Is it going to be in the first paragraph? No, it's going to be in the next paragraph. So we can forget about this paragraph completely. All right, let's look at the second question now. Again, what do you need to do now? What do we need to identify? What do we need to identify here? The keywords. Excellent. Could you help me do that, please, guys? Lowell's investigation. Excellent. What else? Little interest. Aroused little interest. Good. Outside and scientific community. Excellent. We all agree. Good. Let's do the same thing, guys. Second paragraph. Let's look at those keywords and try to figure out a link to the text. Do you see anything about maybe outside the scientific community? Is there any mention of outside the scientific community? The first line, what does it say? Popular press. What do we mean by the popular press? What do we mean by the popular press? Media, good. Maybe newspapers, magazines, exactly, good. Excellent, guys. Again, I want you to read just that sentence. Just that sentence. 10 seconds, and then I'll put up the poll question. Awesome. Can I get the next poll question up, please? So Lowell's investigation of Mars aroused little interest outside the scientific community. Yes, no, or not given. "15 seconds left. Read it carefully. It aroused little interest outside the scientific community. And can I see the results? So 43% of you have picked no, 28% yes. All right, let's look at this in more detail. So again, it says the newly arrived popular press was very willing to report its findings and views, and canal mania grew apace. What is a mania? What is a mania? What do we mean by a mania? Christian is saying craze. Christine is saying that as well. Obsession, excitement, exactly. So the more information they gave, the more people became obsessed with canals. Well, what does the question say? It aroused little interest. So the answer is, so did it arouse a lot of interest or little interest? It contradicts because it aroused a lot of interest. So the answer is no. Now, guys, another reason people struggle, and when I do this in class, a lot of my learners will find the correct sentence in the passage, but they'll still get the answer wrong because they get confused by the wording of the statement. Because here, if you actually look at it, we're not dealing with questions, we're dealing with statements. And they get confused by the way the sentence is structured. So that's the second step of the strategy. What can we turn these statements into to make them easier to understand and answer? We can turn these statements into something to make them easier to understand and answer. What can we turn them into? Excellent, Lian. We can turn them into yes or no questions. It makes it much easier for you. It'll make it much easier for you to understand and to answer the question as well. So remember the one that we just looked at. How can we turn this into a yes or no question? Lao's investigation of Mars aroused little interest outside the scientific community. Remember, we're talking about the past. So how can we turn this into a yes or no question? Perzo, read it carefully. We're talking about the past. So does becomes did. Did Lao's investigation of Mars arouse little interest outside the scientific community? Remember what it said in the passage? It was very willing to report Lao's findings and views. So did his investigation arouse little interest? No. What did it arouse? A lot of interest. So guys, do you see, does it make it easier to answer if you turn it into a question? Because then there's a direct yes or no answer. Did it arouse little interest? No, it aroused a lot of interest. So the answer is no. If it was true, false, not given, you would turn this no into a false. Good. Do you guys want to practice doing this with one more passage very quickly? Should we practice turning statements into questions? Cool. Let's do that. Same thing first, guys. Let's survey first. We're going to look at a passage about chronobiology, how time affects the human body or your body. What do you think, just based on the title, what is this passage going to be about? Well, time, Peter saying, good. What else? Growth, aging, good. Somebody just said circadian rhythm, the correlation between maybe time and your body. Excellent, good. Now that we surveyed, what's the next step? What's the next step, guys? To skim. I'm just going to give you one paragraph. Obviously, in the test, you would do the whole passage. But rest for practice, I'm going to give you one paragraph. Again, which sentences are you going to read? Which sentences are you going to read? First and last. Excellent, Christian. These are your 2 sentences. 15 seconds, and then we're going to try to figure out what this paragraph is about. All right, guys, time's up. What is this paragraph about? What is this paragraph about? If we could summarize it. Carrie saying different types. Excellent. The forms or types of chronobiology. Perfect. The forms or types of chronobiology. Great. Good. This time, guys, this is a true, false, not given question. I've completed the first step for you. I've highlighted the keywords. What is the second step? What do you need to do now? I've highlighted the keywords in the question. What do I want you guys to do now? Before you scan, remember what was the second step? What's the second step of the strategy? What do we need to turn this into? Right, Lian? A yes or no question. Turn this into a yes or no question first, right, AK? Can you help me turn this into a yes or no question? Excellent, Perzo. Does the rise and fall of sea levels affect how sea creatures behave, right? Let's look at the same paragraph. We know it's going to be somewhere in this paragraph. Let's try to find the link. Guys, where does it talk about sea creatures? Where does it talk about sea creatures? Guys, we're not answering the question yet. Let's try to find the link first. Where do we, marine life, excellent. What about rise and fall of sea levels? What do we call that? Tidal patterns, excellent. And good. So guys, I'm going to ask you to read just that sentence. 10 seconds to read just that sentence. So I think you should have enough information to answer the question now. Can I get the next poll up, please? The rise and fall of sea levels affects how sea creatures behave. True, false, or not given? And can I see the results, please? Excellent. 80% of you have picked true, because what does this say? Marine life, for example, is influenced by tidal patterns. So we matched everything, and influenced means affected by. So all of the information. So does it agree or does it contradict? The information in the past, it agrees. So the answer to your question would be yes, which means it is true. Good. Let's do it with one again, because they come in chronological order. We'll move. We don't need this. Let's look at the second one, guys. Can we turn this into a yes or no question? Can you do that, please? Let's turn this into a yes or no question first. Are most animals active during the daytime? Excellent. Where does it mention daytime? Where does it talk about daytime? Hours of sunlight. Good. Guys, read just that sentence, please. Read just that sentence. Let me know when you're done. Just that sentence. And can I see the next poll question up, please? So guys, again, I think you have enough information to answer. Most animals are active during the daytime. True, false, or not given? Be very careful though, guys. Read it carefully. 10 seconds left. Excellent favor. Great, Katajan. All right, can I see the results? All right, so it seems to be a battle between true and not given. So 51% of you picked true. Okay, let's see. So remember we said it's this sentence, right? Now, guys, it says numerous, right? Now, if we're talking about 70 species, is that numerous? Is 70 species numerous? Yeah, because it means many. 70 species is numerous. What about 70 million, 7 million species? That's also numerous, right? But guys, do we know the total number of species that are being talked about? Do we know the total number of species that are talked about? So can we say that it's most species? No, because we don't know the number of species that are being talked about. So we don't know, because what does most mean? Most means the close to all, right? So we don't know, you could say the majority, exactly. So we don't know the number of species. So then what is the answer? Not given. Because it might be, it might not be. We don't know. So again, guys, don't worry if you got this right or wrong. What's important is that you're able to understand now what the tricks are. So do you think doing it this way is useful? Again, don't worry if you got it right or wrong. I know this might be the first time using a technique like this. And obviously you can't master a technique on the first attempt, right? But with a little bit of practice, I promise you this will become much, much easier. Let's recap what we did. So remember, practice using reading skills like surveying, skimming, scanning, and close reading. Make sure you understand what the options mean, particularly not given. Practice turning statements into yes or no questions. It makes them much easier to answer. Be very careful of those tricks that we identified: ambiguous vocabulary, negatives, quantifiers, all, most, many. AKA every new technique needs practice, exactly. Remember that the answers come in sequence. And when you're practicing for the test, you can underline and label your justifications. So underline them and put number 1, number 2, so you can go back and check your answers. So guys, like I said, remember, with a little bit of practice, we started off like this. Remember this feeling? Hopefully with a little bit of practice, you should end up like this. So every time you try one of these to answer one of these questions, you're going to score. All right, guys, let's take a look now at multiple choice questions. We're going to start off by, again, surveying. So the first thing we want to do is look at the title. So this one is called, guys, this title is called Australia Fights Back Against Invader Species. What do you think? What do you think this passage is going to be about? What is an invader species? What does that mean? Let me know in the chat box. What is an invader species? Insects, rabbits, okay, outside species, non-native species, excellent. How can they harm a local environment? How can they harm a local environment? They're pests, okay. What can they do? Spread infection, okay. Disrupt the food chain, you guys are saying. Cruelty to insects, cause diseases, Sadia is saying, good. Christian saying destruction of farmland, agricultural damage. There's more competition for food or habitat. They might upset the ecological balance, or they might drive native species to extinction. Any one of those things. Good. So we already know what this passage is going to be about. Good. Let's look at a typical multiple choice question. This is what you're going to see. You're going to see a question and then 4 options. Now, what people usually do is they read the question and then they read all of the options as well before they look at the passage. What I'm going to ask you to do, though, is something different. I want you to forget about the options. Just focus on the main question. Why am I asking you to do that, though? Guys, out of those options, how many options are correct? How many options are correct out of those 4 options? Only 1. So do you think it makes sense to read 4 options and retain 3 pieces of information that are wrong? You're going to end up confusing yourself. You're going to try to you're trying to keep too much information in your head, and 3 of the answers are wrong. So rather than do that, forget about the options. Focus on the main question. And I want you to identify something here. What do you think I want you to identify here in this main question? The keywords. Excellent, Christian, Rosanna, Christian again, Leanne. Could you help me identify the keywords? What are the keywords in this question? British settlers. Why? Excellent. What else? Imperfect. And there's something before imperfect. The Australian environment. Excellent. Guys, this part out of the total question, this part is known as the stem. The stem, right? So if you think about a plant, we have the stem and then the options are like the leaves and you need to pick the right leaf. But this is known as the stem of the question. Now that we've identified these keywords in the stem of the question, let's try to find the link in the passage. Let's assume we've skim read the passage. And we know that the passage, the paragraph that we're looking for, the information we're looking for is in this paragraph. Again, we don't want to read the whole thing. So let's use those keywords to narrow down our search. Guys, where does it talk about early British settlers? Take a look. Let's scan. Don't read, just scan. Where do you see early British settlers? Colonists from England. Excellent. What about environment? What is the link in the passage? Ecosystem. Great job. What about imperfect? Badly flawed. What about why? Because. Excellent job. So I think we've located the sentence that we need to read. Guys, I'm going to give you 15 seconds to read just that sentence. Just that sentence carefully. Let me know once you're done. All right, good. Everybody's done reading that sentence. Now I'm going to show you the options and let's see if there's one option that jumps out at you. I'm going to put it up on your screen and I'm going to put it up as a poll question. So if you can see the poll question, put your answers there. Otherwise in the chat box. So these are your options. Again, 20 seconds. Why did early British settlers consider the Australian environment imperfect? Based on what the sentence you just read, is there one option that jumps out at you? Somebody in the chat box, you're saying you can't see the question. It's up on your screen and it's up on as a poll question as well. 20 seconds left, guys. Why did early British settlers consider the Australian environment imperfect? Excellent, Shayla. Great, Alishba. Kenny roll. 5 more seconds. Can I see the results, please? Okay, so 70% of you have picked B. Why did you pick B, though? What does it say in the passage? It says it lacked the wildlife to which they were accustomed. What does that mean? That they were They were not accustomed to the wildlife, which means they were not, exactly, the wildlife was unfamiliar. They were not used to that wildlife. That's why they thought there was something wrong with the ecosystem. So the answer is B. But guys, because you'd read that first, did that option jump out at you? When I did this myself for the first time and I looked at the stem and I looked at the passage, when I looked at the options after that, the answer jumped out at me. It was so obvious, right? So do you think this is better than looking at all of the options, 3 of which are wrong, and then going back to the passage? I think that makes it much more confusing. Guys, another thing that you can do is if you're not sure, you can also eliminate. Does it say anything about A, native animals couldn't be eaten? Does it say anything about that? Nope. Does it say anything about animals being dangerous? Nope. Does it say anything about them preventing successful farming? Again, nope. Right. So again, if we had to, we could eliminate as well. Good. Guys, you want to try this? You want to try one more on your own? Good. So I'm going to show you the stem. You need to identify the keywords. You need to use those words to find the information in the passage, and then I'm going to show you the options. So I'm going to give you about maybe I'll give you 45 seconds, and then I'm going to show you the options. So identify the keywords in the stem, match them to the passage, read around that sentence, and then I'll show you the options. Excellently, and Leanne. You found the keywords. Now match them to the passage and read where does it talk about farm animals? Where does it talk about decline? So read that part of the passage carefully, and I'm going to show you the options in 10 seconds. All right, guys, these are your options. They're going to come up as a poll question as well. How have farm animals caused a decline in the number of native mammals? I'll give you maybe 20 seconds. Okay, again, if you can't see the poll, put your answers there. You can put your answers in the chat box. And can I see the results, please? All right, so this seems to be 52% of you picked A. It seems to be a straight battle between A and B. All right, let's identify the sentence first. Where does it talk about farm animals? Where does it talk about farm animals? What's the key word in what's the link to the passage? Exact cattle, goats, and sheep are all farm animals. Good. And then we know, later on it talks about indigenous creatures, right? Indigenous marsupials. So those are the native mammals. So what has caused the decline? So some of you, 30% of you picked B, because I think it says food and then it says food here, right? It says diminished food. But what does diminished mean? What does diminished mean? Favorite thing is A now. Reduced, replacing reduced, decrease, exactly, a reduction in the food. But what does the option say? Read the option. Does the option say reduced? No, what does the option say? It says all. What does all mean again? 100%. So it was 100% of the food reduced, or did the 100% of the food disappear? No, it was just less than before. So is this answer right or wrong? B. It's wrong because this says all their food. So what is the correct answer then? A, because habitat talks about diminished food, but what is the other aspect of the habitat? What is the other aspect besides food? Fewer hiding places. Excellent. So again, guys, you have to be careful. Some of you might have rushed through it. You identified the keywords, you found the right sentence. But again, you need to read it carefully to make sure you pick the correct option. Excellent job, guys. Also, if you want to be sure, remember, it doesn't say anything about attacking native mammals, and it doesn't say anything about spreading diseases. Good. Let's recap what we did. But before that, remember, guys, you would have noticed the wording of the questions and options will almost always be different from the wording of the passage. Remember, we're looking for the same ideas, not necessarily the exact same words. And again, the answers will always come in sequence. Just like the two questions we just looked at. So let's recap. Remember, what did we say? Again, practice using reading skills like surveying, skimming, scanning, and close reading. What do we do then, guys? What's the next step in the MCQ strategy? Keywords. Keywords where? In all of the options as well? Where do we identify the keywords? In the, what part of the question? What is it called again? The stem. Excellent, Rupesh. Underline the keywords in the stem. What do you use those keywords to do? Once you found them in the stem, what do you do? What do we use those keywords to do? To link, exactly. Scan and link to the passage. Locate the part of the text that contains the treasure and read closely. Remember, we want to read as little as possible. We just want to read the part that contains the answer. Once you've read that and you've understood what is being asked, then you can read the options carefully, and hopefully the correct one will jump out at you, or at least one or two that might be close, but you'll be able to eliminate usually two just by doing this, and hopefully the correct answer will jump out at you. Remember, the answers appear in sequence, and again, when you're practicing, underline and label so you can go back and check. So guys, I hope once you start practicing, you're going to find both of these to be extreme. underline and label so you can go back and check. So guys, I hope you found, I hope you're, once you start practicing, you're gonna find both of these to be extremely useful. I'm gonna jump to the Q&A now to answer some questions. Before we do that, here, I think some of you were asking at the beginning as well. Here is our schedule for upcoming webinars. Next week, narrative tenses for speaking. After that, academic writing task 1, 2 diagram questions, and then general training reading. Mariana's put the link in the chat box to the takeielts.org registration page. And here is information about the study pack. Guys, remember the study pack is a compilation of tests of links and resources that you can use to start practicing for the to prepare on your own. It has 8 webinars, the ones you see on the left, complete webinars, complete explanation to everything you need to do in order to self-study. And on the right, you will see an example of the reading webinar. I'm going to jump to the Q&A now, guys. But before I do that, could you let me know in the chat box? I'd really appreciate your feedback. Could you let us know what you liked about this webinar? It really helps us to put these things together. So let us know what you liked about this webinar. And can I get somebody to help me with the questions, please?
I can help, yes, sir.
Thanks,
okay, so Junaid's been waiting very patiently and wants to know whether you can highlight in the computer test.
Sure. And I noticed that question that cropped up in the chat box as well about underlining in the computer and IELTS on computer. So Junaid, yes, in the IELTS on computer, you can highlight and you can add notes. So instead of underlining, you can highlight the keywords and you can add notes if you want.
Great. And a similar question, actually. This is from Velina, who's also been waiting very patiently. During the reading exam, can you write on the paper with the text, for example, keywords, underline important sentences, etc.?
You can, and you definitely should. You can underline whatever you want. You can circle keywords. You can add in. You can sort of use arrows to sort of link. Make sure you found the right link. Whatever you want to do, but you can definitely underline keywords and add information to and underline in the question.
Great, thank you. Ella, it's got a good question. I think it's worth repeating. Does skim mean read all of the text fast?
No, Ella, what we want to do, we're not reading the entire text in terms of the entirety of the paragraphs. What we're doing is we're reading we want to read quickly to get an overall picture of the organization of the text. And how we do that is reading the first and last sentence of each paragraph. Because what we're trying to do is locate the topic sentence. The topic sentence is the sentence that holds the key to the paragraph. It lets the reader know what that paragraph is about. Usually that's the first sentence, and the last sentence is a summary sentence. So it's a quick and easy way for you to figure out what that paragraph is about. And once you do that for all of the paragraphs, you'll get a picture of the entire text.
Great. There's 2 people with the same question, actually. So you've got AKM Bashir and Chenia or Xenia, sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name. They both want you to explain what a stem is, what the stem of a question is.
So Bashiruddin, the stem is basically the main question. In the multiple choice thing, the entirety of the question is the stem plus the options. So when I said the stem, I meant the main question, not the options, just the main question. So we want to identify keywords, not in the options. Initially, we want to identify the keywords in the main question, which is known as the stem.
Okay. And Karina, again, it's the practicalities that people are concerned about. Can I use a piece of paper to write down keywords, etc., for the paragraphs when I do the IELTS on a computer?
So again, you have the option of getting a piece of paper, but I think it's easier to highlight the keywords on the screen itself, so you're not looking up and down continuously.
Great. Hind C2 is saying another challenging task for reading is matching the headings. Perhaps you explain, we'll deal with that at another time.
And that's exactly it is. I agree. It is another challenging task, and that's exactly why we have another whole webinar dedicated to choosing headings, matching headings to paragraphs. So I'd encourage you to check the link that Mariana posted. It should be coming up hopefully fairly soon, where we focus entirely on the strategies for choosing headings.
Great. Akalanka is asking whether they can use uppercase letters to write the answer.
If you want to, yes. It's not mandatory. Some people, especially people who are sort of worried about their handwriting, they choose to write in block letters uppercase because it makes it clearer. As long as you can do it quickly and within the time limit, it's definitely not a problem.
Okay, I think I'll just try and find one that's Lien is asking, I'm not sure I really know what it means. Is both of them in one? Can you have a heading and a topic sentence for one paragraph?
Lynn, I think you're getting confused. So every paragraph has a topic sentence, which is basically what that paragraph, that's sort of the central idea of that paragraph. The heading I think you're talking about is related to that question that was just mentioned, choosing headings for paragraphs. There is a link, if you're able to find the topic sentence, that's usually, it contains the same information as the heading. You can think of the heading as a title of a paragraph. So if you had to give the paragraph a title, what would that title be? Thanks, Sarah. I think we wanted to go over resources. So
yeah, sure. Okay.
Thanks, Sarah.
Pleasure.
Guys, sorry, I'm gonna have to jump to the resources now because we are running out of time. I apologize if I didn't answer your question. I will show you a resource that you can use to post questions. Thank you for giving me your feedback and your feedback to the rest of the team as well. If you haven't, please let us know what you liked about this webinar because it really helps us to put these together. Guys, in terms of resources, maybe the most important one, if there's only one you need to check out for sure, it's takeielts.org. It has all the support material you need, including detailed information about the format, the skills that are being tested, practice tests, everything that you need, including schedules for upcoming webinars as well. And if you're planning on taking the IELTS in computer, a free IELTS and computer familiarization test as well. If I didn't get a chance to answer your question again, I'm sorry. What you can do is follow our Take IELTS official Facebook page, and you can post whatever questions you want on there, and one of our experts will be more than happy to answer it for you. Mariana is popping these links in the chat box as I speak. The Facebook page also has a whole range of other resources, including sort of live sessions with experts so you can interact with them directly. Road to IELTS is what we recommend for online preparation, downloadable practice tests, interactive activities, and tips on question types. There is a free component, so you can check out what it's like, but then you will have to pay for the rest. If you register to take the IELTS test with the British Council, you'll also get free access to another chunk of the Road to IELTS. What you can download for free right now, though, is the IELTS Prep app. It will give you instant access to free practice tests, grammar tips, exercises, quizzes, and more. And it's available on both the Apple Play Store, and the Google Store. It now includes 4 extra complete IELTS practice tests that are exclusive to the app. They have model answers and not available anywhere else. But you will have to pay a nominal fee to buy them. There's a whole range of books and study guides available. Anything printed by the Cambridge University Press is amazing, but specifically the official IELTS Cambridge test series. I think it's up to 16 or 17 this year. They're a compilation of authentic tests that have been used in the past, so the best way to practice. And lastly, for grammar, learn English.britishcouncil.org. Thank you guys once again so much for participating. Thank you for taking time out of your day to join us. We hope you found this useful. All guys, trust me, I know it might seem difficult, but just needs a little bit of practice. I hope to see you guys next week. Please stay safe, keep washing your hands, and like I said, see you guys next week. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.